I would like to welcome everybody in the second session of the first day. We will start this session with a presentation by Dr. Ali Beba. It's about the role of universities for creation entrepreneurial ecosystem for knowledge-based economics. Dr. Ali Beba is the director of the Entrepreneurship Center in the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. The floor is open for him now, so he's willing to speak for like 15 to 20 minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I cannot stand still. My name is Ali Beba. A lot of people confuse it with Ali Baba. And I wish I were. That would make me the richest man in China, right? We have limited time, so I want to go over what I would call the role of third-generation universities. And I might be talking a bit differently than the previous colleague, where we still look for business plans as to be instrumental for keeping up business discussions transparent and open. So let's, this will be the content. Universities, we are changing in a very fundamental way. What is a third-generation university? And is KFUPM a third-generation university? It's going to be a question. Then we'll talk about the university I'm coming from, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, our program, and that competition I had just mentioned in my question, $1 million, which has the focus to create new businesses. Now, very briefly, so we understand, universities have been active less than 1,000 years. So the first generation, what we call medieval, started in Bologna, then Paris. And universities are always very resistant to change. It's incredible. You know, we talk about innovation and everything, but we as university groups are pretty stubborn. We resist change. And it took centuries to move from the first generation to the second generation. And now we are entering, hopefully, into the third generation. So according to the Alvin Toffler's, you know, the future shock, if you look, the first generation universities basically are the universities responding to the agricultural age. And the whole objective was to enlighten the world and stimulate the obedience of the people by law, by medicine, by social sciences, basically, philosophy. They were pretty loosely organized, and as we know it, there was really no research. It was a place where people who knew were teaching to the people who did not know enough. And it would be receiving a financial flow from whoever was governing, the prince, princess, sultan, whoever, and then fees from the students, income from the property. That was the basic structure for getting financing. Then this Prussian diplomat, who was the Minister of Education and a philosopher, Humboldt, said universities must have a better reason to exist. And it was a time when things were happening in the social world. So we're transferring from the agricultural age into the industrial age. And there was a big need for research. New disciplines were emerging. Thermodynamics, for example, was coming out. So research started to become part of the university responsibility, in addition to excellence in teaching. So it is the industrial age university. Research is the main task in addition to education and teaching. But research was basically monodisciplinary. By this I mean it was still done within a faculty, as we have it. Probably 90% or 95% of the universities today are still following this second generation model. The funding, now this time the governmental grants are going into some kind of funding agencies, while part of it is still going directly to the university, and the fees and the research grants. Now we are talking about the third generation, and there are plenty of reasons why this had to happen. The cutting-edge research costs were increasing exponentially. Governments wanted to have the universities to play a more important role in the knowledge-based societies, as we keep hearing from our Saudi colleagues since morning. Number of students are exploding. It's an incredible number of students now that we have to deal with. And now there are other specialized agencies who are competing in research. ESA, NASA, CERN, you name it. There are thousands of them now. So these are other research institutions who are competing against the research with the universities. So now we are at what, as we call it, knowledge-based economy. And we have to do research. We have to do teaching. But we have to exploit. We have to exploit the knowledge that we create by research and science into the benefit of the society. Okay? So this is the main shift. And it starts with Cambridge, it goes to the US, and we heard from Boston, for example, they've got a very unique model, which is all based on entrepreneurship, but many other universities are now shifting towards programs that would allow them to immediately transfer the knowledge that is created by cutting-edge research into the social benefit as a product and as a service. In these universities, cooperation with industry is a must. And we, again, heard about the other stakeholders, financial institutes, et cetera, et cetera. But cooperation is the key word. Collaboration is the key word on the third generation universities. Interdisciplinary is the other word we keep hearing about. Research is not mono anymore. Faculties are evaporating. In many third generation universities, faculties are becoming obsolete. Now we are having schools, and we are having students in the schools who claim that they do not belong to any discipline when they come in, right? They just come in for a year or two. They are free to choose. They have to make up their minds. In several universities, I know, for 2 years, in many, in 1 year. So we have a very different place now, and therefore universities have to respond to that. We have a great competition. HKUST, as you will see, is a great place, and we compete like crazy with a lot of big schools. We look at ourselves as MIT of Far East, and we want to have the best of the students, want to have the best of the academics, want to have the best of the grants, so on and so forth. So there is a big competition internationally going on. So it's a global world, yeah? It's a flat global world. And therefore we have to compete fiercely. And the financing now comes not from the government grants anymore. Government is distributing grants to scholarship foundations, research funding agencies, and that is basically a simplified model of financing of the universities of third generation. So when you look, first, second, and third, which I understand these slides will be available, right? All these slides will be available after the event, yeah? And therefore, I'm not going to stay too much in. But one thing which is interesting is that Latin, being the lingua franca of the first generation, turns into a national language. It could be German, Turkish, Arabic, Chinese. Now, all the third generation universities are teaching in English, including KFUPM, if I'm not wrong. So here's HKUST. I was thinking of King something, but it's not King over there. So HKUST. And our programs are pretty well known. And sometimes when I talk to our president, I get pretty nervous about this because we are only 22 years old and we've got such a big recognition on the map. And my question is, how the heck are we going to sustain this thing for years to come? So we've got a big job in front of us. In the mission statement, it is in the website of the university, which says we have to assist the economic and social development of Hong Kong and the region. And the region is 1.5 billion at least. Hong Kong is part of China, but Hong Kong is not China. They call it one country, two systems. And luckily we are in the better part of the system. So this is the statistics of what we have, the number of students and so on. Just to keep in mind very easily, it's about 10,000 students and 45% are graduates. What I think makes a university a cutting-edge research institute is the number of quality research people, graduate people available. So it was, as I said, it was built in '91. It is a research university. That's how it started. It's an international, well-known university internationally, especially in that part of the world. A lot of people use the word MIT of Asia. And it has a spectacular physical setting, as you see. And if you look into the rankings, I don't know whether they mean anything. To be honest, I don't care much about rankings. But some people do. So if you look at the rankings, this year, before I just came in, the slides were prepared before that was published. EMBA program, which we do with Kellogg, is #1 over the last 5 consecutive years by Financial Times. We can have, only, on the undergraduate level, we can have only 20% international, 80% have to be from Hong Kong, because we are a state-owned university. And 20% is split 10% international and 10% from China. But luckily, you can see the number of applications in blue and green, and then you can see the number of recipients or number of students who come in. So we are very, very lucky to choose crème de la crème students to our institutions. So we have over 200 exchange partners with 600 exchange students campuses, and about 35% of our UGs go 1 semester away from Hong Kong. And the faculty, as I mentioned, I think is a very well-established, known group of people coming in from the top schools with PhDs. We've got research in energy. We've got research in nano sensor motor behavior of the generation of human machine. And then we've got life, health and sciences, sustainable and public policy. We have 4 faculties only, by the way. Business, engineering, science, and humanities. Only 4 faculties. But that allows us to be a place where we really can create entrepreneurial platform. Because you've got on one side a great number of people in science and engineering coming up with innovative and great ideas. And on the other hand, you've got the business school. So business, engineering, innovation, and so on go hand in hand, and you really come up with some excellent position in terms of the innovation and creation of entrepreneurship. Although we are a Chinese, as I said, part of China, in order to enter into China, we need to have a Chinese partner. China does not accept us as a Chinese university, although we are, as you can see, these campuses now, all these 5, are within China, but we are always there with a partner hand in hand. So it is no different if you did come in, or an American university came in. Whatever they face, we also face the same challenge. Now, we are entering into the second part, which is the RDC. University was established in 91. In 93, the visionary founders decided to establish what they called an RDC Corp. It's a company, a limited company, registered in Hong Kong. And the whole idea is to support the innovative, new thinking, people's ideas, to convert them into businesses, so to provide them whatever support they needed to convert their ideas into products and services. So RDC was one of the first things the university had established. Now, in that, we have the entrepreneurship program since 99. And now the entrepreneurship program, as we kept talking about, and as we heard from Vahed also, we are not looking only into the high tech, but we are looking at whatever innovation there is. You could bring in Starbucks, and it becomes Pacific Coffee in China. It's got a better environment, you know, nicer place, better coffee. So that's okay. You know, we would look into that as an innovative business idea, and we would support that. Center itself has 3 pillars. We provide incubation. We do have an incubation, strong incubation program. We provide informal education and training. We have outreach and networking activities. It shows that, you know, I think we have seen similar graphs in the morning too. It shows that we start with the inspiring entrepreneurs, that's the students, to pre-incubation, to the startups, to the growing companies, and so on. And that graph on the right-hand side shows the number of companies that were created over the years. And you can see that originally it just was, you know, rocketing, and then came down, and 2007 and 2008 did show another thing to us, that we have to create our businesses, otherwise we may not have any job at all. So people again started to look forward and build the companies in 2008. So we are on the rise again. These are some of the companies built by the university students and professors together. And they are pretty well established companies with employees over 100 to 200 people. And when they grow, we don't kick them out immediately. We allow them to stay with us 3 years, then we move them to Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the neighbor of Hong Kong. It's only an hour away, where entrepreneurship really, really is growing very, very fast. So Perception Digital is a company formed by one of our professors who was tenured, a very well-known, Jack Lau. And his company has done the IPO, and Jack is a very rich professor nowadays. Here are the other examples. Then we, as I said, education and training activities, these are informal, but as a professor, I teach entrepreneurship through engineering and business schools. That's the formal part of the job I do, but informally, we've got a lot of these. And on outreach, we've got, like in any other university that is involved in entrepreneurship, we've got all these activities, a lot of work with China, and the competition, which is something we are very proud of, something that I want to share a couple of minutes on. In this event, which has been in action since 2006, like maybe in 2,000 schools around the world, or 3,000 schools are doing these business plan competition. But this is not a business plan competition. It is an entrepreneurship competition. And we put $1 million annually over the last 3 years. Not only all cash, cash and in kind. And our goal is to select 3 best that could turn into some tangible businesses at the end of this activity. So that's why I was asking that question, what's the focus? What do you want to do? Our goal is very clear. We want to create new businesses at the end of this activity. And this year, we have included international groups to come in, so long as they had one person from HKUST in their teams. So this is an open invitation to KFUPM, that this year it will happen again. And it is a very interesting event. So just to finish it off, As I said, over the last 3 years, these are now all companies incubated in the campus. They are growing. Again, not all of them, we don't, expect them to be giants, but we hope they can become. The second year and the third year. So is HKUST, which we call a third generation university. I hope that with KFUPM and HKUST and the rest of the other universities here can collaborate further in the next years, not only in the competition, but in other entrepreneurial activities, and thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to thank Professor Ali for sharing this great experience from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. The floor is open for one question only, because we are short in time. So, who would like to?
Yeah, my name is Saleh Dafoua. I'm from the Department of System Engineering, King Fahd University of Petroleum and Mineral. I would like to ask you, Professor Ali, what is the few secrets of success at your university for having a successful entrepreneurship program?
Well, I need about 2 hours for that, but in 1 minute, if I can, I think it has to go from top to bottom, from bottom to top. Determination of the regulatory system has to be there. The willingness, willpower has to be there. So there was actually, we are the 8th university in Hong Kong, and now we are moving so fast. So they saw the need, so regulatory system allowed that to exist. Number 2 is, of course, the people whom you hire to run the system. Number 3, the students. The students. You have to choose very selectively the students who come in to your institute. And as I said from the very beginning, you really have to have the mental preparedness for the third generation. You cannot just become or stay a university which is good in research, or a lot of universities which are good and excellent in teaching. You have to have this mission statement always in your head, in your roadmap, sir. Those are the few things I can share.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Beba.
Yeah.